what's on your mind. She's on the inside, she got the scoop on the ones to watch, on the ones that's hot. No one can do it quite like Caroline.
Hey y'all, it's Caroline Hobby and welcome to my show, Get Real from the Music City, capital of the world. In each episode, I get the real story from the most inspiring, interesting people in Nashville, Tennessee. I have done everything in the music entertainment industry. I was in the trio Stealing Angels with 2 top 50 country charting songs, a finalist and runner-up on season 22 and season 24 of The Amazing Race. You can currently catch me on CMT's hit show, I Love Kelly Pickler. I am an entertainment news correspondent and host for the TV show Nashville Insider, and my podcast, Get Real with Caroline Hobby, was featured on iTunes' New and Noteworthy and charted on iTunes' Top 200 podcast. I'm also married to the smoking hot front man, Michael Hobby, of the #1 chart-topping band, 1,000 Horses. So buckle up and get ready to get real with me, Caroline Hobby. Welcome to my show. Hey, Rusty Gaston. Gaston? Gaston.
Gaston. Is there any way you want to say it?
Gaston. He's kind of like the badass.
No one's quick as Gaston.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you pretty fast?
No.
So you're Gaston, not Gaston.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So what's up?
How's it going? It's good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Have you had a great New Year so far?
Fantastic. It's
What's
wonderful.
the best thing that's happened to you in 2008 so far?
Or you mean 2000? Are you editing this?
2018. What's
It
the
is
best thing that's
2018.
happened? No, not editing. It's 2018.
This podcast.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for joining me on my publisher series.
Or are you really editing this or you're not editing
No,
this?
unless I
okay.
need to edit this. Are you going to say something that needs to be bleeped?
No. No.
So this podcast is the best
Yes.
thing?
Awesome.
Man, lucky me.
Love this podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
to you. You've worked
Thank
so
you.
hard on this. It's fantastic.
Thank you. It has been a little child that I have been
So
growing.
well respected, so well received.
Thanks. That's really
You're doing an
nice.
amazing job.
Well, I'm taking it next level now by interviewing you.
I don't know about that,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we'll do the best we can.
Okay, so here we are at This Music. You are the dude. What is your exact title here, and what is your role at This Music as a publisher?
For us, This Music, our goal is to strive to be a boutique publishing company that's small enough to where all the songwriters really get a ton of individual attention,
Okay.
but to be large enough to really be competitive in the marketplace to where they are competing at the highest level. That's our goal every day.
I love that, and I actually feel like if I was a writer looking for a publishing deal, this would be someplace I would be very interested in, because even though it's awesome to be with a big powerhouse name and like a huge company, sometimes you get lost in those companies and
You can, and that's why the great thing for us is our company is what is called a joint venture with Warner Chappell Music Publishing. And so Warner Chappell is the second largest publishing company on the globe. So for the songwriters here, they have the best of both worlds. They get all of the individual attention and branding and management and everything that they need and desire to move their career forward. But they have the confidence of Warner Chappell is handling their licensing. They are collecting their royalties. They are putting together their statements. They're distributing their royalties. So they can absolutely rest assured that Warner Chappell is collecting their money everywhere on the globe.
Oh, so that's awesome.
Yeah, for a songwriter, it's a win-win.
Yeah, and it's probably nice for you too to know that like you do have this giant force behind you if you need it.
Yes, without a doubt.
So how many writers do you have?
We have 14.
That's a lot of writers.
It is, and we have a staff of 4 or 5. And it's great because, like I said, it's small enough to where everybody gets tons of individual attention, but it's big enough that we can really be competitive on the street in multiple genres. And for those writers, it's kind of broke up into, I would say, 9 of them are really day in, day out, everyday songwriters coming into the office, writing songs every single day, trying to write songs to get recorded by the biggest artists out there. And then a few of them are artists and developing artists to where they're mainly writing things for their projects. And then we have, a couple of just up-and-coming writers just getting started.
So this is such a competitive industry to get a publishing deal. I heard there's like 300 people tops, like in the country that have a publishing deal. Or is that in Nashville?
I don't know.
Maybe
about
that's
that.
in
I
Nashville.
think it's a much larger number.
Okay, maybe in Nashville there's like 300 people that have a publishing deal.
Okay.
It's a small number on the scope of this being a
Right.
job, right?
Yes. Agreed.
And it's everyone who moves to town who's an aspiring songwriter or artist wants a publishing deal. But not everyone gets one, even though people are so talented. What makes you want to sign someone who has nothing else going on? Like no other interest, no label, no nothing yet. Like what makes you, or okay, maybe they do. What makes you want to sign someone?
For me, I ask myself, would I mortgage my house for this? And if I can't say yes, I just don't do it.
So you have to have passion.
Without a doubt. I have to be remarkably passionate and committed. When I meet with a songwriter, what I want to hear, when I meet with someone for the first time, I almost never listen to music in the meeting because I feel it's impossible to just bop through a verse and chorus of some people's songs and really have an idea of who and what they are as a writer. And also in our building, we're trying to create an environment of creativity, an environment of positivity, an environment where people want to come and create. This is the place they want to hang out. They feel the excitement. They see the success that is happening, and they want a piece of that. So when I'm meeting with the writer, I want to sit and talk with them for 15 minutes and realize, hey, do I want to spend day in and day out with this person?
Yeah.
And do they feel the same way about me?
True.
Because if either one of us don't feel that way, it doesn't matter if Wind Beneath My Wings is like on their CD or in their link they're sending me. I'm not the person they need to be working
Right.
with, and vice versa. Because for people that have normal jobs, I'm sure there's somebody in their job that gets on their nerves.
Right.
Somebody that is sort of cancer in the clubhouse. Somebody that's always kind of negative. Somebody that when you see them coming down the hallway, you want to
like,
dodge.
"Ugh."
Yeah, you want to dodge into an office just to not be around them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that happens in this building, it absolutely destroys the potential of the day. We are so... we are hyper focused in making sure we have the right people. I make our decisions based on people first and music second.
Wow.
And so we've got to have the right group of people that inspire us to be the best, but we also inspire them to be the best. And what happens is that when our writers come in the morning and they're in the kitchen and they're getting coffee and they go up to their offices or rooms to write, they know the hit songwriter across the hall, they know that they're writing a hit song. And so they think to themselves, man, whatever I'm doing, there's no way it can possibly be as good as what they're doing across the hall. We have to trash what we're doing and make it better because that guy across the hall is a big hit songwriter and they have to be doing something better than we're doing. And it's this sense of encouragement and challenge that makes everyone rise to the top. What doesn't happen is they do not go into their offices and then spend the next 30 minutes trash talking out of insecurity and jealousy the songwriter across the hall. Because if they do that, the chances of some special creativity happening that day are zero.
Okay,
It's absolutely zero. So I have
yeah.
to get the right people in here that buy into our philosophy, that encourage one another, that want to see each other's success. Because at our company, when one writer has success, that draws attention to the other writers that in turn helps bring them success.
I love what you just said because I am a firm believer that thinking positive, being positive, and not just like in this hippie, let's be positive and not know that there's shit going on in the world, because there is some stuff happening that's awful in the world. But I do think if you want to make a positive change, you have to see positively and you have to find the positive things. How did you come to that philosophy that positivity is crucial?
That's a good question. I don't really know. I think that I was maybe just somehow kind of born with it. It's a natural.
You are the happiest guy ever. You're like the motivator.
Hey, thank you. But it is just like it motivates me. I need that every single day. I look back and I feel like I didn't really have parents that encouraged me to do something, maybe risk-taking or crazy, but they never discouraged me. They never told me I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I had a stepfather that was an entrepreneur, and he really taught me the ability to see the opportunity in every situation.
So how do you do that? How does one see an opportunity? Say there's something bad happening, or how do you find the opportunity when things don't go as planned? Like, how do you find the silver lining?
I think it's different for everybody. For me, it's my belief in God. And that gives me a hope to know that I heard something great this morning talking about, since it's here at the New Year.
Yeah.
So many people are making New Year's resolutions, and they are thinking that it's a brand new year. It's a clean slate.
It's a brand new me.
Today I'm starting clean. Well, you know what? For those of us that are believers, the grace that God gives us is renewed and clean slate every single day.
I love that. Have you found the music industry to encourage faith, or how does faith play into the industry in your mind?
I think lots of the people that I'm surrounded with and work with every day are not afraid of their faith.
Why do you think some people are afraid of faith? Have they just not experienced something yet to make them feel it?
Yeah, probably so. But I think also it's because we're in such a great city of Nashville. I'm sure it's not as easy to be vocal about it in other cities, probably.
Yeah. Nashville, it is.
We are in the Bible Belt.
And you can talk, and country music loves faith. So
exactly, because country music is what we do 90% of.
Mm-hmm.
And what country music is about faith and family and values. And that's what our entire genre is.
And it really is. Even if people do fall off the tracks and there's all sorts of stuff, the core is there.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And even when you fall off the tracks,
you get right back on.
The whole part, about faith is redemption and forgiveness, and being able to come back.
I totally agree with that. Sometimes, though, and I don't feel like you have this way, and I love to talk about faith because this podcast is about finding your calling and having that be a part of your career, too, because you obviously are doing something that you love.
Yes, for sure.
And if you're so passionate about it that you don't even want to sign someone unless you are willing to mortgage your house. I mean, that
Correct.
is passion for your job.
Yep.
So how did you find your calling to do this? And then how did you work your way into then running a publishing company that is so successful?
I was very lucky to have a couple of real defining moments in my life when I was young. I remember my father telling me this, and he and I have never talked about it ever. And he probably never even remembers saying it. It was something probably just in passing, but it really impacted my life forever. What he said to me is, he said, for everything there is in this world, somebody has a job doing it. Whether it is manufacturing the chair you're sitting on, whether it is growing the food you're going to eat for dinner tonight, everyone has a job doing something.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was probably 10 or 11 at the time. And somehow I pieced together in my mind that what I love to do is go to the record store, and I would spend countless hours there just flipping through records or looking at cassettes and buying CDs. And I would go to my room and I would lay on the floor and I would spend hours and hours just reading liner notes and laying on the floor with my feet propped up on the speakers, just listening to these records over and over again. But I had somehow figured out that the songs that I was naturally attracted to were the songs that eventually became successful off the records.
So you would get a brand new CD, and obviously there's probably one lead single that was happening on that CD back in the day, and then you listened to the rest, and you called it almost.
Right, and my 2 or 3 favorite songs would end up, 100% of the time, end up becoming the 2 or 3 popular songs off of that record.
And I'm sure when you're a kid, you don't even know what a publisher is, or
Had
that
no
there's
earthly
even a
idea.
job to pick songs.
After my dad said that, I somehow pieced together there has to be a job where somebody figures out which songs on the record are the ones that should be on the radio. And so
smart.
I, by that time, 10, 11, 12, 13, just pieced together this was what I was supposed to do for a living.
Before you even knew what it was called.
Exactly.
Or that there was a music
I knew
industry.
nobody in the music industry.
Where
I
are you
didn't know
from?
there was. I'm from Van, Texas.
Oh, Texas?
Yeah. And so I didn't know there was a music industry. I didn't know there were songwriters. I didn't know anybody in it, didn't know anything about it. And so being from a small town, I was in choir in high school. I was in drama in high school, just as a way to sort of learn more about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't interested in being a performer. But my senior year, I got a job performing, singing and dancing at Six Flags Over Texas.
Please tell me there's a video.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, my
There's lots
gosh.
of video.
You got to send it to me.
And so I had my second defining moment is I remember where I was standing. I remember what the stage looked like, what the audience looked like, what our costume was. When it just hit me, it was like, man, this is not what I want to do for a living. It was lots of fun. I was making great money for an 18-year-old. I was going to college. It was just fantastic. Life was wonderful. But I just remember in that moment thinking, this is not what I want to do at all. How do I get into the music business? Like, I do not want to be
the performer
on stage. How do I get behind it? Like, I'm doing this performer to figure out how to get behind it. And
sometimes it's crucial though to do those experiences, so then you know what you don't want to
it
do.
is. But I also learned a lot. And right after that, I saw an interview on the Nashville network with Trisha Yearwood, and they were interviewing her and saying that she was an intern at a record label. And I literally asked someone, like, have you ever heard of the word intern? What is that? And they said, that's where you work for free to get experience. I'm like, oh my God, like, where do I do that?
How do I go work for free?
I'll do that in a second.
Yeah.
So I cold called the production company that produced the show I was in at Six Flags. And it was a company called Wow Entertainment in Dallas that still operates today. The guy that owns it is named Mark Breimer. He became a wonderful mentor to me. I'm so appreciative for God placing him in my life. And I just cold called him up and asked, could I come intern in his office? Because I knew that this show I was in, that was a big, rigged, multi-million-dollar show in a big theater at Six Flags Over Texas. I knew there had to be a meeting somewhere where some people sat around a desk and talked about this concept, and then somehow it came to life. And I was interested in, or what were the words spoken in that meeting? What did the paperwork look like after that meeting that made all this happen? And so this company, they produce live production shows, and I got to learn about that. But also, the owner of this company, he is the #1 print arranger in the nation for Hal Leonard Music Publishing, which is the largest print publisher. So, for instance, if you've ever been in church choir or show choir, guaranteed, bet on your life, you have sang music arranged by Mark Breimer. And so when there are hits or there's a movie coming out, they send the music to this guy in Dallas. He arranges it into choral arrangements so that they can sell it to churches and schools and things like that in sheet music. And so I started learning about print publishing that way. And then he was a record producer as well, and he produced Looney Tunes records like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. And so I started to learn a bit about live production or studio production. And long story short, through that internship, I met a publisher named Jerry Smith who had a very successful publishing joint venture at Sony Tree in Nashville, and he had signed some hugely successful artists. And he and I met one time, and we kind of just cosmically hit it off. And he was starting a new company, and he was looking for somebody to help him. And, again, I think just in passing, he said to me, hey, if you ever move to Nashville, I'm looking for somebody to help me, like you can help me. So I just basically took that as my invitation.
You're like, well, actually,
yeah.
Now that you asked.
Exactly. So then I moved to Nashville, and I started
for that job.
For that job, working for him as soon as I moved here, and the rest is history. That was August 17th of 1996.
Now, you've talked about a couple things that I think are crucial to being successful, and I would love to hear your take on them. One, identifying what you love. I think so many people don't take the time to identify what they love. And I think they just sort of float into things and they don't realize, okay, hey, I love this. Like you said, from a young age, you loved picking out the hits. And you filed that away as something that you loved. And then also taking initiative and having gumption to put yourself out there by calling up the main dude at your production company. I mean, he's probably a big wig. You're just an 18-year-old kid. But having the gumption to put yourself out there in a way that could be vulnerable, that could be rejection, that could make you feel like a fool if it doesn't go well. So many people won't do that. And I feel like those are the moments that are really important. Do you feel that way?
I completely agree. And I will say in that regard, I've just been blessed and lucky that those things have just come natural to
like
where...
You've never had fear about that?
Well, I mean, you always have fear, but I didn't allow the fear to, freeze me in my tracks.
But how not? Because I feel like the majority of people who aren't living their passion let the fear stop them.
Well, and I think for me also, I learned early on that I kind of developed a motto that we fashioned this music after, and that really I sort of try to live my life and my career by, and that is love plus fun equals success. And that if you love what you do and you love the people you do it with and you add in a lot of fun, the only possible outcome is success.
And you enjoy your life.
Without a doubt. Now, success, the definition of success in every scenario is different. Yeah. It's not always big financial wins.
Right.
It can be all kinds of things that are success. I remember vividly a songwriter that I worked with 15 plus years ago. We had a remarkably successful relationship as a publisher and a songwriter. We accomplished lots and lots of goals. Now, he didn't end up getting the singles on the radio that we had hoped for. And so financially, there became a point to where we weren't able to work together anymore. But the publishing deal was still incredibly successful for both of us because we loved what we were doing. We loved the people we were doing it with. We added in a lot of fun, and the outcome was absolutely successful. And
I love that you
for
look at
everything that I do in my personal life, my family life, but absolutely everything regarding this music is built around the philosophy and the equation love plus fun equals success.
I freaking love that.
And you can follow my daily Twitter that is @LoveFunSuccess and get daily inspiration, because it started to where I would, for all of the songwriters that are here, every day I would send them a daily inspirational text message in the morning. Yeah, to get their mind right and to motivate them.
So
well, then all of a sudden it became some friends and other executives were like, man, will you send me that? And then eventually it just became a Twitter.
I love that you're so intentional about being positive, because I also intentionally choose to be positive, but I make that choice on a second-to-second basis, because you can easily fall down the rabbit hole and go the other way. Anyone can, but you choose to stay positive. I freaking love that, Rusty.
Well, you have to. I mean, life is too short, and I just, nothing good is going to come out of being negative.
I know. It really doesn't.
Yep.
Then why do people keep being negative?
I don't know. Only great things, every great things comes from someone who's being positive. It is, if you are negative, it is never going to work out. But if you're positive, it still may not work out, but at least there's a chance.
So what about all these people who are negative but are successful? I guess what you said before, success, maybe you have success, but are you happy?
Definitions of success are different.
Yeah. So when it comes to signing a writer, because obviously you take this very seriously,
right.
What stops you in your tracks? Like, what makes you say, I got to have this person? When it comes to their music, obviously you got to have the connection with the person.
Yeah, for me, like I said, I make my decisions on people first and music second. And they've got to be the right person to fit in our philosophy. They've got to be somebody that I want to hang out with every day and they want to hang out with me every day. Then I have to be passionate about the music. What I do not want to hear is them bring me, lots of times, younger songwriters, they'll bring in songs where this one's been on hold and other people like this one. And what I always tell them is I want to hear what you are passionate about.
Like who you are.
Who you are.
I love that.
Because that's what I need to be passionate about. And then if that's what I can be passionate about, I can help you find a way to do that on a bigger level. If they just bring in songs that, hey, this is something that, these are songs that have been on hold, man, they're not really what I do. I don't really like them that much. Well, then,
why are you bringing them?
Yeah, why are you bringing them? But then a publisher would think, well, that's what they want to do every day.
Right.
And I want to hear what they absolutely love, what they wish they could create day in and day out. And then that is what I need to be equally passionate about.
So you are about authentic living.
Without a doubt. And when that lines up, then I can help them take that to the highest level possible.
Wow, Rusty. Okay, so...
But the other thing, let me say this too about songwriters. I feel like as a publisher, I've always approached music publishing as it's my job to manage the careers of a songwriter the same way an artist manager would manage an artist's career. Meaning it's our job to create opportunities for these writers, to put them in the best situation to succeed. It is very hard to write songs. It's very hard to write hit songs. You've been an artist. You're married to an artist. For really any genre, what any artist needs, they do not need the best song they can write. They desperately need the best song written. That is the difference. No matter how, when you look at the artist, especially in the country genre that are the most respected great songwriters, Ronnie Dunn, Toby Keith, Alan Jackson, Brad Paisley, ones that are undeniable songwriters, Eric Church, Taylor Swift. They also have some of their biggest hits they didn't write.
Outside cuts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, it's about every day do they have the philosophy of their job is to write the very best song written in Nashville that day, not to write the best song they can with this artist that day. They need to write the very best song written in Nashville. And that, for me, their ability to do that is I need to put these writers in a place where they can create at 100% of their ability.
And what makes you have 100%? Like, what makes a writer have 100%?
As their publisher, I need to be able to help manage their distractions. Things like keeping their calendar. If keeping their calendar is dragging them down and people are calling them and wearing them out and bugging them about dates, I need to be fully in charge of their calendar so I can manage those opportunities and put them in the very best position to win each and every day. Just because one songwriter writes a hit for an artist and another songwriter writes a hit for the same artist, that does not mean those two songwriters ever need to write.
Because it's like dating or marriage. Not everyone connects or speaks the same language. So
much of a publisher's responsibility is understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each of their songwriters, and then understanding the strengths and weaknesses of other songwriters in town and learning which ones of those to pair together that are going to create the best opportunity to write the very best song written in town.
So as a publisher too, you really do study all of the songwriters, not just in your company, but within Nashville that are really making waves, because
100%.
You study their strengths, you study their weaknesses, you study where they're great. Because like some person might be a great lyricist, some person might be a great track guy, some person might be a great melody. I look at all of them as like jigsaw puzzle pieces. And it's my job to figure out where my jigsaw pieces may fit into other ones. I love that. So collaborating with other publishing companies, you love.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, you would love to have more writers write all here, but it's great to draw upon the pool.
I mean, it does. It's not about all of them writing songs in house here that make us own a bigger piece of the publishing. That's not the intention. The intention is to put each songwriter in the very best position to create at the top of their ability that day. Because the only chance we have to succeed are the days that they're going to be able to bring 100% of themselves into the room.
Yep.
If they're only going to be able to bring 85% of themselves into the room, we might as well not even do it, because it's not going to compete. Because when we're out trying to get songs cut, or you're an artist and you're trying to get a record deal, people aren't looking to say yes. They're looking for reasons to say no.
Absolutely.
And if they can find a reason to say no, then they say no.
Yep.
And so if you're a songwriter and you're only bringing 85% of yourself to the room that day, and you write a song that is as good as something else that the artist already has.
They're not going to pick yours.
Exactly. Or something that's as good as what's on the radio, yours is not going to get picked. It has to be better.
Question. You have some serious powerhouse writers in this room who write some, not just great feel-good songs, but some heavy, moving, deep stuff. That is usually hard to get songs like that cut. But then, hence, you have a songwriter like Jessie Alexander, and she wrote I Drive Your Truck, which was a huge song, but ballad for days. So how do you navigate that? Because being someone who is so passionate about songs, art, writers being authentic, a lot of the stuff on country radio is some of it sounds like a lot of artists could cut it, or maybe the lyrics aren't quite as deep, or really there's not a lot of ballads, or if it gets too like touchy about something, people don't want to cut it. How do you navigate that when you have these really incredible songwriters writing these songs that are so deep and passionate, but yet maybe radio doesn't always want to play those? How do you walk that line?
Yes, that's a good question, because you're right. Jessie Alexander writes here, and so does Connie Harrington and Jimmy Erie.
Oh, yeah, Connie Harrington wrote I Drive Your Truck, too. You have two of those writers.
They wrote, and Jimmy Erie, the other one.
All three of them right
yes.
here?
And
you have all three writers writing here for Song of the Year, I Drive Your Truck? That was a good day.
Yes, that was a very good day. But, Connie and Derek Rattan, another songwriter here, they wrote Mine Would Be You for Blake Shelton. That's another one in that level. Tim Nichols and Connie Harrington wrote I Got the Boy for Jana Kramer just last year. That's another one that kind of fits in that mold. There's a young songwriter named Emily Weisband that we work with.
Oh, she just won a Grammy.
Yeah, she won a Grammy for a song called Thy Will that she wrote with Hillary Scott.
That song is
that
beautiful.
Is very powerful and very passionate. But all of those songs, like, number one, like, those songs aren't written every day.
Right.
And those songs just aren't another ballad. Those songs are something that really, really stand above.
Yeah.
Those songs are something that speak to people, that speak to the masses, that are in touch with a very broad, but at the same time unique human emotion that makes you feel that, and it makes you want to feel it again and again and again. And that's what's so special about it. And yes, as a publisher, I do not pitch many ballads.
But you're probably saving them. I was actually talking to Tom Luderin about this yesterday. He's also a publisher. Because you can't have a radio playing all day of ballads. No one wants to feel sad all day. You have to have it upbeat. So you have to make sure when you pitch a ballad that it is a freaking out-of-this-world ballad.
It has to be a song of the year to get a ballad cut.
That makes sense.
It has to be pitched at the right time inside of a project, to where, especially today where it's so radio singles driven, there's not going to be an album made that has 4 or 5 ballads on it. There may be 1 or 2. So you have to pitch it at the right time. It has to be incredibly powerful enough that is going to make it really stand above and beyond all the other up-tempo songs on their record. And like I said, we're very lucky to have those songs and be involved in those songs that have all won awards and Grammys and Song of the Year things, which is fantastic. But those ballads are a step above, something special.
Okay, so that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense because I always wondered, like, why can't you just put a ballad on if it's a great song? Because it has to be the ballad. Okay, so we're going to have to wrap up kind of soon, but I want to ask you a few questions. We're going to get to the heart just a little bit. What is the point of this life?
I think the point of this life is to live it in your truth. That is your positivity. You know, for me, it is that I don't want to carry around weight every day. I think the point of life is not dragging around baggage of regrets and bad decisions.
Do you think everyone has a calling?
Yes. I do believe everyone has a calling, but I don't believe everyone has the courage to chase it down because it is scary. You know, what's interesting to me is I don't want to say it's delusional, but to be an entrepreneur or to be successful in the music business, you know, I never went into this with any thought that it was not going to work out. I 100% believed every single second as a little kid from Van, Texas, a population 1,008. I just knew beyond a shadow of a doubt I was going to be able to do this. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to get there. I just knew this was my mission and this was where I was headed. And I never doubted for a second that I was going to find that. You know, I do think if you have a plan B, 95% of people are going to pick plan B because they're scared to fail.
What do people think fear is, and what does walking through fear actually look like?
I think people's fear makes things bigger and uglier and scarier than they actually are. And I think walking through it just gives you that strength to know that I can do it. And the next time you need to take that leap, or the next time you need to go after that risk, it gives you a little bit of confidence to do it. You know, I also believe there's a truth in the philosophy of leap and the net will appear. You can't do things foolishly, but if you have worked hard, if you have researched, if you have put all the right pieces together, sometimes the only option is to jump and the net will appear.
When do you know you're on the wrong road, and when do you know you're on the right road? What do you feel inside? What are your indicators?
I think it's just gut.
So you really listen to your gut.
Without a doubt.
Like, what if you have a huge carrot dangling in front of you? Like,
yep.
Razzle dazzle, the biggest, just the biggest thing you could imagine. I don't even know what that would be.
Yeah.
But you have a sick feeling about it. Would you be able to walk away?
Yep. You don't do it. In my career,
that's hard to do.
Yeah. I'm not going to say what these things are, but I'm going to be vulnerable enough to say that there's two kind of rules that I personally have for my kind of career and business. Don't do this, don't do this. There are times throughout my career of 22-ish years where an opportunity to do those things have come up. And once or twice I have done them. And then absolutely every time I have regretted it on both of them, to say, like, man, I knew I shouldn't have done that. And I did it because the risk was low, or it wasn't gonna
like it was gonna be perfect.
It's like,
or
well,
great.
this is what somebody else does, so maybe that will work for me. And I did it, and it didn't work out for me. I think you have to figure out what your truth is and what your path is and stay very, very true to that.
I love that. I love that. How do you know? And the same thing goes when you're on the right road. It feels...
Yeah, it feels right, and it works, and you're happy, and you're invigorated, and you're encouraged, and you're positive, and it just keeps feeding you. And I want to say again about positivity. There is nothing more in life that can change a publisher's day than the right song. You know, even though I'm positive, everybody's still going to have bad days. Everybody's still going to have times where they're down just a little bit. But I can recall so many times to where, you know, maybe it's gloomy outside, or maybe you're bummed out, or maybe a song didn't go where you thought it was going to go. And then all of a sudden, you can open up an email, a songwriter can walk in the door, you can hear a song that absolutely changes everything for the better. And that is the most rewarding part of the job. And, you know, we have another philosophy here, is that great ideas equal great songs and good ideas equal good songs. But we can't do anything with good songs.
It has to be great.
Has to be great. And great songs make great things happen.
The secret to happiness is?
For me, it is a belief and a passion for my faith, and that gives me the encouragement and the positivity to face every day, knowing that I am protected and shielded.
What has marriage and fatherhood taught you?
The very best. Every bit of it is harder than anybody says, and every bit of it is better than you could ever imagine. I encourage everyone to do it. There's also a thing of, I've always been driven, and I've always been highly motivated, but there is another sense of motivation with marriage and children that comes along, because you want to make them proud. You know, I'm really been circling a lot around the word legacy, as I want to make my children proud.
If you could wish, what do you wish people will say your legacy is? If you could write it, what would you hope they say?
I would hope they would say that I had a contagious positivity that encouraged them to be the very best that they could be.
I think that will happen for sure. Okay, I'm going to wrap up a little bit.
Okay. I
always like to end my interviews with leave your light. Well, first off, leave your light coming up. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Man, on the spot, I don't know. Best advice I've ever gotten.
Okay, what would you tell your younger self?
I would tell
What's the best advice you would tell yourself?
Yeah, I would say the best advice I ever got was just that I could do it. Mm-hmm. My first boss here in Nashville, I mean, this isn't necessarily advice, but I'm so blessed and thankful for him, because he told me when I started working for him, he said, hey, whatever it is you want to do in this business, I'll help you achieve that, as long as you help my company succeed as much as you can. And looking back, I've realized that other bosses don't have that same philosophy. And I think that was such a game changer for me to experience that early in my career.
He wanted you to flourish.
He wanted me to flourish, because he knew that me flourishing was going to help his company succeed. And there are other bosses out there that may not want to see people flourish, because then they may fly off and take other opportunities, and that may...
Or the spotlight might get taken off of the boss.
Spotlight get taken off of them, and that may diminish their company in their viewpoint. But that was wonderful advice, and that was just he may not have been spoken advice, but it was his actions that were just so amazing. And that was some of the best advice I could have gotten.
What would you tell your younger self now that you have lived through all this and seen so much?
I would say do almost everything exactly the same and get a law degree.
Why a law degree?
Just because, the music business is complicated, and there are so many details of the business. I think it would help everyone in the music business to have a law degree.
Okay, last question. Leave your light. Leave some inspiration. This whole thing's inspirational. But leave inspiration of just how everything you've seen, learned, experienced, what you want to put out into the world. What is the message? Leave your inspiration, your light, which is this whole podcast. But if you had to sum it up.
What I would say is I am a little kid from Van, Texas, population 1008. I had an absolute God-planted seed of vision and drive planted inside of me, and I didn't know how to get there or where I was going, but I had the wherewithal, the gumption, the ability to not be afraid and chase that down. And I would encourage anyone to chase down your dreams, that if you truly love what you do and you love the people you're doing it with and you add in a lot of fun, your outcome will be successful.
Love that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Rusty, you're the best. Rusty Gaston!